Can everyone take a seat? We have a quorum. Yay! Please take a seat so we can begin. I'm Angela Harkness, and I'm your town moderator. Things were a bit prickly there, and we had to reschedule our original place and date for this meeting due to the spread of the Delta variant, and then we had to reschedule our time due to the PSAT variant. It's really great that all of you could keep up with that and make it here today. Thank you. I particularly want to welcome anyone who's here who may not have attended before or who's only attended one or two town meetings in the past. We really look forward to new points of view, to your questions and comments, and most importantly, to your votes. Thank you for making the time to be here today. We'll be voting on 9 articles, determining, as the legislative body of this town, how our tax dollars are spent and some of the rules we live by. In a democracy, every vote counts. Here at town meeting, your voice and your vote affect many issues that are very close to all of us. Thank you to our town manager, Jody Ross, town staff, and our building and facilities staff, who have again arranged things so we'll be comfortable and safe as we exercise our right and responsibility to vote. I'd just like to take a moment to introduce our new town planner, Joe Genowitz. Joe, right over there. Let's welcome him. So please note that there are tents along the side to the right if anyone needs to get out of the elements. And there's a first aid tent also available on my left. For the first time, we have brand new bathrooms at the back of the field, so feel free to give them a try. Once we begin, we'll continue until we finish all the articles, which I anticipate will take about an hour, give or take. When you checked in, you were given an orange voter card like this one. You'll need this card both to vote and to speak, so please keep it handy. If you don't have a card, then that means you haven't checked in, so please go to the tellers behind me and check in, and they'll give you a card. Since we are outdoors, masks are optional, unless you go into the bathroom facility, in which case you should mask up. There are 3 microphones in the center, which any voter can use to address the meeting after being recognized by the moderator. If you wish to speak, you can use whichever mic is closest to you. Please hold your voter card up as you approach the microphone, both so that I can see you and so that I know you are a registered voter. Unless given special permission by the meeting, non-voters may not address the meeting, and under no circumstances may they vote. You'll be voting by holding up your orange voter cards. When I call for the vote, I'll first ask that those in favor hold up their cards. Then I'll ask you to put your cards down and ask for the no votes to hold up their cards. Please hold your cards up high so I can see them. We'll be working from this Pop-O-Mint colored special town meeting booklet. You may think I make these names up, but they're actually given by the manufacturer. The Pop-O-Mint colored special town meeting booklet has the wording of the motions we'll be discussing today and the recommendations of the relevant town boards. If you don't have a colored motions booklet, you can get one now from the table behind me in that direction. We have 2 housekeeping motions before we begin. Again, non-voters may not address the meeting without your permission, and therefore I'll ask now that town meeting allow those town employees, town council, and town hired consultants who are not Westford voters, but who will be participating in our discussion by virtue of their positions, by making presentations, and by answering questions. May I have a motion to allow those individuals to address the meeting? Is there a second? This vote requires a 2/3 majority to pass. All in favor, raise your cards. Yes. Put them down, please. All opposed? The motion passes unanimously. Your motions booklet has printed in it the full text of the motions we'll be voting on. Rather than have to read every word aloud before each motion, May I have a motion to accept the wording as it is printed in the motions booklet for each article? Is there a second? All in favor, please raise your cards. Put them down, please. All opposed? That motion passes unanimously. Finally, I want to emphasize that every question is welcome. Please feel free to ask about the facts of any article or the particulars of any process we're following. If you have a question about something, it's likely that someone else on the field does as well. At the same time, if you're commenting on something, I would ask you to speak expeditiously and try not to repeat points that have already been made. What makes a community is people working in concert and experiencing milestones together. And just before we begin, I'd like to recognize Ron Johnson to apprise the meeting of a recently occurring town milestone. Ron.
Thank you, Angela. It's been a while since I've been up here. Several of us want to acknowledge the contributions to our town by the Emmett family down in Parkerville. With the recent passing of Alan Emmett, we think it's fitting to call to light at this meeting their contributions that she and her husband Richard made. Richard passed away in 2007. The Emmets moved to Parkerville in 1951. That's some 70 years ago. And I've had the privilege of being a neighbor and a friend for 60 of those years. Over that time, their efforts were instrumental in making Westford the great place we're now proud to call home. Alan was an accomplished landscaper and author. She wrote several acclaimed books on landscaping and was a regular contributor to the House and Garden magazine. Her landscaping prowess is well shown by the grounds in their home down in Parker Village. She also wrote novels, one of which was the Mr. and Mrs. Club, which told of a social life in a small town much like Westford. And a lot of us older people spent a lot of time trying to attach names of people we knew in town to some of those racy characters that were in that novel. So she brought a lot of joy to us. Her husband, Richard, or Dick, as he was known, served on countless town committees, was a member of the school committee, the Board of Selectmen, and the Conservation Commission. Dick's passions were conservation and birds. Alan and Dick gave over 500 acres of land in Westford to the Audubon Society, setting an example that we have since built on significantly. And we now have over 2,500 acres of open land in permanent conservation, thanks to their example. Dick was, as a selectman, was very instrumental in getting the Kennedy parcel down in Parkerville as town land. And also as a selectman, he was chairman at the time when the IT situation came in town, and he was instrumental in keeping a hazardous waste site out of town, which would have been a significant negative impact on our town. Both Alan and Dick attended almost all the town meetings that occurred during their day, contributing their views and votes on how we could be a better town, just as we are doing here today. Toward that end, I would ask this meeting to forego the usual moment of silence and ask us all to rise and applaud and thank them for their contribution. Thank you very, very much. They were just a wonderful, wonderful addition. Thank you.
Thank you, Ron. And now, if you could turn to page 3 of your motions booklet, we'll start with Article 1. I have a motion to appropriate from free cash the sum of $165,230 for personal services in the Treasurer Collector's Office and in the Fire Department, and from the Ambulance Enterprise retained earnings the sum of $24,899 for Ambulance Enterprise personal services. Is there a second? Are there any questions or comments? All right, seeing none, all in favor, please hold up your orange voter cards. Put them down, please. All opposed? The motion passes unanimously. Under Article 2, I have a motion to appropriate from free cash the sum of $290,000 for certain capital requests. Is there a second? There are 4 requests, and I'm going to read through them. If anybody has a question or comment about any individual request, please say hold loudly, and we'll put that one aside while we vote on the rest. First, from the Public Buildings Department, $100,000 for the Cameron Senior Center HVAC system design. Second, from the Fire Department, $100,000 for the Rogers Fire Station roof replacement. Third, from the School Department, $90,000 for schematic design and other costs related to the replacement of the Blanchard Middle School roof. Fourth, from the Water Enterprise Fund, $25,000 for the Depot Street well design. Hearing no questions or seeing no comments, we'll vote on the entire article. All those in favor, please raise your orange cards. Down, please. All opposed? The motion passes. It is not unanimous. The second motion in Article 2 is a motion to appropriate from free cash the amount of $470,000 and transfer that amount to the Capital Stabilization Fund. Is there a second? Are there any? Town Manager Jody Ross.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. So this is, when we purchased 63 Main, if you remember, the Select Board promised to put that money back into capital stabilization once we sold it. We're about ready to sell. We were waiting for the Mass Historic Preservation restriction to be approved. We just got that last week. So as soon as this closes, we will take this action and put that money back in capital stabilization. Thank you.
Seeing no questions, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, please raise your orange cards. Down, please. All opposed? The motion passes unanimously. Under Article 3, I have a motion for the creation of a revolving fund to pay for the costs associated with operating electric vehicle charging stations. Is there a second? Eric Heidemann, Assistant Town Manager.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Eric Heidemann, Assistant Town Manager. So in fiscal year 2021, the town received $235,000 in the form of a Mass EVIP grant and utility incentives to install 12 dual-head charging stations. They're actually in the process of being installed now. You may have seen them here at this building, out front of the building at Westford Academy, also at the Abbott School and the Town Hall. We are seeking here to establish a revolving fund to have a transparent method to track the revenue and expenses associated with the charging stations.
Thank you, Eric. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, please raise your orange cards. Down, please. All opposed? The article passes. It is not unanimous. I have a motion under Article 4 to establish expenditure limits on certain revolving funds as follows. The Recycling Revolving Fund, $40,000, and the Electric Vehicle Charging Station Revolving Fund, $10,000. Is there a second? Eric, do you want to give us another? He's still Eric Heidemann, Assistant Town Manager.
Thank you. So the recycling revolving increase is due to increased initiatives such as sale of composters and toters, as well as the Recycling Commission is looking to increase the frequency of hazardous waste collection days. The electric vehicle charging station one is in relation to Article 3, which was just passed. We do anticipate $10,000 being an acceptable limit. We may need to revise this as we experience the first couple years of usage.
Any questions or comments? I'll call for the vote. All in favor, please raise your orange cards. Down, please. All opposed? The motion passes with a majority. It is not unanimous. I have a motion under Article 5 to establish a health insurance claims trust fund to provide for town employee and retiree health insurance claims. Is there a second? Jody Ross, Town Manager.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. So basically, we hired a new broker this spring for our health insurance, Mark Crisatelli, who is here today with us if we need him, of Hub International. And he provided us with data on becoming partially self-funded. The data showed that with a stop-loss policy, we believe we could save our town and our employees significant dollars. His analysis, in fact, showed that if we had been partially self-funded for the last 3 years, we would have saved approximately $2.4 million. If this is approved today, the Select Board will appoint trustees over this fund, and the suggested trustees that I have is Town Manager, Town Treasurer, HR Director, a member of our Insurance Advisory Committee, a Select Board member, and a Finance Committee member. The Town Finance Director and Town Accountant will be very involved in this process, and Hub, our broker, will participate in all meetings. Our auditors will audit the trust annually, and they are familiar with these in other towns. So we're asking town meeting to approve the trust, and if you do so, transfer approximately $733,145, which is currently in our health insurance stabilization account. The trustees will determine the premiums for health insurance and the stop-loss levels. The trustees have a fiduciary responsibility to assure sufficient funding of the trust to pay all current and future health insurance claims. And the recommended balance to have in this fund is a minimum of 3 months' expenses, or $3.6 million. What are the pros of doing this? Well, there's lower premium taxes. Right now, we're with Blue Cross Blue Shield, and they pay taxes and pass that on to us. We will only pay stop-loss taxes, so we will save quite a bit there. There'll be lower insurance profit margins. The town will have immediate savings when claims are lower than projected, and premiums will be aligned with usage, not established by Blue Cross Blue Shield with a buffer. We will be eligible for pharmacy rebates, which will be approximately $215,000 per year. And we will have better, more timely data about our health care usage. Any excess funding over the predetermined amount may come out as a premium holiday and must be distributed at the same percentage that it goes into the trust. So right now, our employees pay 35%, and the town pays 65%. Over time, the savings may be utilized to offset future increases in years when actual claims are higher. And the expectation is that the premium for this year will drop from a 4.9% increase to about a 2.5%. What are the cons? There's a higher volatility in monthly costs. There's more complexity. The formulation of a trust does have different accounting principles and procedures, and it requires more discipline in setting the rates. Hub will provide the actuarial underwriting support for setting rates. So this is something that I've been trying to do for years, but we haven't had the right broker in place to help us figure this out. And I highly recommend that we approve this trust and move forward in this fashion. I'm here to answer questions, as is Mark Crisatelli, if you have any. Thank you.
Thank you, Jody. At the center microphone in the back, can you identify yourself, please?
Moyer, 69 Forest Road. I was just wondering if there is increased exposure in the case of a severe loss, and if you could explain I think it's the stop loss policy that we buy. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. The stop loss policy will be to protect the town against those types of occurrences. The trust will decide whether that's 100,000, 125, 150, but we will set that so any claim over that amount, we will have protection against that.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. So there are two motions under Article 5. The first motion is to establish the trust. We'll be voting on that one, and I actually want to go back and make sure there's a second to that first motion. Thank you. So we're voting on the first motion under Article 5 to establish the trust. All in favor, please raise your cards. Put them down, please. All opposed? The motion passes by a majority. It is not unanimous. The second motion is to transfer $733,145.69 to the Health Insurance Trust Fund, which is presently in the Health Insurance Stabilization Fund. Is there a second to that motion? Any questions or comments? I'll call for the vote. All in favor, please raise your orange cards. Put them down, please. All opposed? The motion passes. It is not unanimous. Passes by a majority. Sorry. It passed by a 2/3 vote. There were only a couple of votes against. Is that for both of them, John? Is that both the first and second motion? Okay, just the second motion. The second motion passes by a 2/3 majority. I have a motion under Article 6 to appropriate $75,000 from free cash to pay for a townwide energy audit to identify possible energy and water conservation measures in town buildings and facilities. Is there a second? Eric Heidemann, who's still the Assistant Town Manager.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. So as previously mentioned, Article 6 is seeking to appropriate $75,000 to conduct a town-wide energy audit. This would be at our town and school buildings. The audit will review existing infrastructure in our town and school buildings and provide recommendations for updating inefficient equipment such as lighting, HVAC, building envelope improvements such as insulation or windows, and renewable energy options and water reduction efforts. The audit is actually the first phase in the town potentially exploring an energy-saving performance contract. You may be wondering what a performance contract is. So this is an agreement to install a portfolio of energy-saving measures that are guaranteed to save enough energy on an annual basis over the life of the contract so that the town can repay the associated debt. A major benefit to performance contracting is the town's ability to implement a large variety of energy-saving projects without requiring a tax increase from our residents. Upon completion of the audit, the contractor will provide the town with a detailed list of potential projects along with their estimated energy savings and return on investment data. If the town decides to move forward with the overall performance contract, then the $75,000 audit fee would not be required to be paid immediately, but rather the cost would be rolled into the overall financing associated with the project. Alternatively, if the town decided to pursue each identified project through the traditional capital planning process, and not move forward with the performance contract, then the town would owe the audit fee to the contractor upon completion. So the performance contracting model has been around since the mid-1980s, and it's highly regulated by the Commonwealth of Massachusetts to ensure protections are in place for municipalities. After the audit process is complete and the town decides on the desired project scope and budget, a subsequent town meeting vote will be required to approve the overall performance contract, which we hope to bring back at the 2022 annual town meeting. I just want to note that the Clean Energy and Sustainability Committee has been working with us throughout this initiative, and they are in support. Also, you may remember the previous town meeting had a resolution passed to have a 2050 goal of zero greenhouse gas emissions. This project will greatly help us get in the right direction.
Thank you, Eric. At the back microphone.
Hi, Tammy Clark, 3 Pioneer Way. So is this a private or public auditor? And it sounds like the person that's auditing, it's his company that would do the changes, right? It's not two independent groups?
Eric?
So the Mass General Law requires us to release a request for qualifications. In this case, we already did that process. The requalifications are due back from vendors soon. They will be evaluated. The Select Board recently authorized a contract with what's known as an owner's agent, which is a third-party representative to protect the town's best interest while we negotiate with the selected firm to move forward.
Did that answer your question?
No.
Okay, I didn't think so.
Is the 75,000 audit the same group that would do the changes if we vote for them?
Yes, that is correct. So the company, the ESCO, they're often called, would be the company that would be payable that amount.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor of Article 6, please raise your orange cards. Put them down, please. All opposed? The motion passes by a majority. It is not unanimous. I have a motion under Article 7 to appropriate from free cash $39,000 for improvements to Burn Drive extension. Is Paul Starrett here? Here he comes. Paul, can you identify yourself?
Paul Starrett, Town Engineer.
Can you just give a little explanation of this motion?
Yes. Yep. So we've been working with the residents on Burn Place Extension to get their road paved and accepted by the town at a subsequent town meeting, and this motion will give us the money to accomplish that.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor, please raise your orange cards. Put them down, please. All opposed? The motion passes unanimously. We have a motion to dismiss Article 8. Dan, you want to explain that? Identify yourself, please.
Good afternoon, Dan O'Donnell, Finance Director. This article we're asking for you to dismiss today. We have this placeholder at every special town meeting. It allows us to make adjustments to our budget assumptions that were presented at the annual town meeting. And this article would be our opportunity to apply any funding if there was a shortfall in order to balance the budget. I will say that we did use American Rescue Plan Acts to the tune of $456,000 to offset the estimated decrease in recreation revenue this year. So because we did that, we can now dismiss this article. Thank you.
I don't think I called for a second. Is there a second? Thank you. Are there any questions or comments about this article? Seeing none, please raise your orange cards if you're in favor. We're dismissing the article by voting in favor. Down. Anybody opposed? Please raise your orange card. The motion to dismiss passes unanimously. I have a motion under Article 9 to restrict the use of motorboats on Keys Pond. This motion was originally brought at the last town meeting as a petition article. The petitioner is here to speak to it. Bruce Bunker, I'm going to ask him to approach and speak from the front microphone. It is not a petition article this time. It's put on the warrant by the Board of Selectmen. Bruce, identify yourself, please.
My name is Bruce Bunker. I've lived on Keys Road, 47 Keys Road, 35 years. I'm very intimately involved with the pond, and one of the things I've noticed over the years, when there are people who use a motorboat with a gas-powered engine, and they go around the pond, there's a lot of effluent in the water, oil slicks, and some people have gone out there water skiing. It's such a small pond that the only way they can do that is to go in a circle, and that creates almost like tidal waves that go against the side of the pond. And my main objective is to make sure the health of the water and the ecology in the area stays as good as it can get. We now have otters that come to the pond. There are osprey. We saw an eagle this spring. And there's a lot of fish and mussels, and it's just a good idea to not increase any pollution effects at all. So that's why I wanted to get gasoline outboard motors banned, except under certain situations where they're okay to use. One of them is for emergency use, and the other one is one of the wording things on here. Do you want me to? It's a semantic thing. For purposes of this section, the use of any craft designed and utilized solely for the control or removal of aquatic plants. The word solely would indicate that the motor craft is created only for that purpose of removing aquatic plants. Well, there is no such thing that the state has that they use. A regular motorboat is what they use. So what I'd like to do is maybe strike that word solely from the wording. So it's for the environmental health of the pond that I'm putting this article in to ban gasoline-powered outboard motors.
So Bruce, are you asking for an amendment to the article to
Strike that word.
Strike the word solely
Yes.
from the article as written in the motions booklet? Is there a second to that motion to amend? Is there any discussion on the motion to amend? Did you have something on the motion to amend? Okay.
I do. Rose O'Donnell, Sassafras Road. What about the word designed?
Any craft designed and utilized for the control or removal of aquatic plants. The design part is, they have to take equipment out there in the motorboat or whatever they're using to take samples of the water, to hydrate the material they're going to put in the water for aquatic plants. So I think that word is probably okay. They take machines with them to do what they need to do.
At the center, Mike, did you have something on the amendment?
Yes, please. Jim Gazzo, Carolina Lane. I agree with Rose here. I think if we eliminate 3 words, we can make this preserve the ability to prevent motorboating on the pond, but allow private companies or state offices to do invasive species control, invasive plant control by using any type of boat that's used for the purpose of aquatic plant control. I think to do that, if we remove the words designated and solely, we eliminate those 3 words. It'll say, for purposes of this section, the use of any craft utilized for the control or removal of aquatic plants or use of any craft in an emergency to protect life and/or property are specifically accepted.
So the motion to amend that's on the floor,
Is to eliminate just the word solely.
I understand that, has been made and seconded. So we would have to vote against that motion, and then you can make a different motion
I'm okay
if
with
you wish.
deleting the word further and delete 2 more words with another amendment.
Yep. Excuse me a moment.
I don't know.
Another method would be to vote on the amendment to eliminate the word solely, and then you can make a second amendment to make the other changes. Any other comments or questions on the amendment, which is to eliminate the word solely? Seeing none, we're going to be voting on an amendment which will eliminate the word solely from the verbiage that's published in the Popo Mint book. All in favor, please raise your orange cards. Put them down, please. All opposed? The amendment eliminating the word solely passes unanimously. Now, Jim, did you want to make an additional amendment?
Yes, Madam Moderator. I'd like to amend bylaw 125.2, the second sentence, by deleting the words designed and.
So the amendment, is there a second to the amendment? So the amendment would now change the second sentence of 125.2 to read as follows. For purposes of this section, the use of any craft utilized for the control or removal of aquatic plants or use of any craft in an emergency to protect life and/or property are specifically accepted.
Yes,
is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Are there any comments or questions on this amendment?
Nancy Bissell, 11 North Main. I'm just looking at the end of the accepted. Is accepted ACC? It's accept. It's correct.
It seems like Rose has answered your question. So. Are there any other comments or questions? Are there any other comments or questions? Yes.
Yes, good afternoon. Joe Gillis, 39 Keys Road. I don't know if this is about the amendment or the article, but before we vote for the article, I'd like to speak.
Okay, well, we're just voting on the amendment right now. You'll have a chance to speak to the article. Okay. Any other comments or questions about the amendment? Seeing none, all in favor of amending to remove the articles designed and from the script that we now have, please raise your orange cards. Put them down, please. All opposed? The second amendment passes unanimously. We're now voting on the main motion as amended. Are there comments or questions? Yes, ma'am, at the center microphone.
Leslie Thomas, 8AO Colony Drive, and Pilgrim Village has 1,800 feet of frontage on Keys Pond. Does this apply to the ski mobiles that are on the ice in the wintertime that are gas fueled?
No.
I know they're not motorboats, but that's a question. Why not?
Well, they distribute their exhaust into the air.
Okay. Okay.
The motorboats do it in the water.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes.
Michelle Martin, Meadow Lane. I have a point of order.
Yes.
Those 2 amendment votes were not unanimous. They were majority, but not unanimous. They were.
Okay. My clerk concurs. I apologize. Please.
Thank you.
Whoever was holding up their cards, please hold them higher. I apologize for not seeing those. At the center microphone.
Good afternoon, Joe Gillis, 39 Keys Road, Westford, Mass. First of all, thank you for allowing me this opportunity to speak. There were 3 reasons why we decided to move into Westford. Number 1 was the fantastic school system, which my daughter went through from kindergarten to graduating from. I'm proud of that. Second of all was the fantastic bubonic scenery that Westford provides. It's one of the best in this country, and I feel privileged to live on Keys Road and to enjoy the beautiful scenery that it provides. And third, and most importantly, was the inclusiveness which Westford provides. It welcomes all people here. 17 years ago, we moved to Keys Road. At that time, there was no bans or restrictions on Keys Road's pond. Today, however, is a different story. I feel compelled to speak about this Article 9 because it directly impacts myself and my family. Our property is in the center of Keys Road. Our property goes directly to the shore of Keys Pond. During our time here, we've enjoyed riding a small motorboat with 4 horsepowers. Most lawnmowers are louder than my motorboat. This past summer, a gentleman, Bruce, came to my door and asked me to sign a petition which would restrict internal combustion engines on Keys Pond. We're talking gas-powered engines. But Bruce only wanted to restrict power boats, motorboats. Forget about the skidoos, forget about the gas-powered augers. We're going after the motorboats. At that time, I pointed to the pond because there were no motorboats on it and asked, what's the problem? Bruce replied, there is no problem now.
Sir, I'm going to ask you to speak to the article and try to keep it, not to make it personal, okay?
Thank you. There is no problem with the motorboats now, but we're trying to prevent a problem in the future. Excuse me. It's wind. There is no problem now, but there's a problem in the future. So Bruce is admitting that there's no problem. I suggest that at this point in time that the board takes consideration and instead of putting an all-out ban, because if they do put this ban, this will be the first ban on any body of water in Westford that will restrict gas-powered motors. This sets a precedent. If they go after Keys Road, the next one will be long sought for, Forge Beach, and Nabnasset. I asked the board to go cautiously on this article, perhaps a compromise instead of an all-out ban, because if we're going to have an all-out ban, let's not just single out the people that drive the motorboats. Let's go after the skidoos, you know, the ones that go in 90 miles an hour, Let's go after the ice fishermen that are out there on a February morning with their gas-powered augers. Don't just single out the motorboat people. I ask for a compromise that if it's truly environmental, let's do a study. Let's have a study done, seeing if there's any negative impact on that pond caused by internal gas-powered motors. If there isn't, I ask the board to dismiss this article. If there is, then I will be the first person to sign that petition. Thank you.
At the center mic.
Bob Carter, 8 Nutting Road. Couple questions. Does Keys Pond have public access? Does this deprive current owners of their usage? Do we know how many motorboats are currently docked there? And will there be a grandfathering of any currently owned motorboats there? Thank you.
Bruce, do you have the answer to any of those questions?
There are maybe 3 or 4 people that have a motorboat with a gas-powered engine on the pond. This year, there's been very little use of that. I think, and I may be wrong, but skidoos, you can't use them on Keys Pond anyway. And ice augers, their effluent is put into the air. It doesn't go in the water. I have an electric ice drill, and it works very well, but it's not gas-powered. So.
No, sorry, sir. Sir, you can get back in line. Unless I don't want to have a back and forth. If you have another question, get back in line and you can ask it.
Point of order, those were not responsive to the questions I asked, which is, does the pond have public access? You know, what current owners are going to be deprived, and will those current owners of motorboats on the pond going to be grandfathered?
Well, there is a 50-foot public access along Keys Road, and I can't really address grandfathering anybody in. That would be a separate issue. It would not be this article.
Can I have the next person in line?
My name's Roy Sotosurna. I live on 49 Keys Road. I've lived there for the past 38 years. Sound has never been an issue with motorboats on the pond as far as I'm concerned. I don't hear anything. This year, I think there's been a grand total of 2 boats out on the pond. I'm not sure what kind of human health and environmental issues those are causing. It seems to me that the development on Spalding Hill, where the stormwater drain was allowed to drain down into Keys Pond, represents a more significant issue as far as the environment and so on. So the point's been made already that this is going to set a precedent for other ponds and lakes in Westford, and I don't think it's a good precedent. Thank you.
Thank you. At the center mic. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Yes, at the mic to my right.
Peter Mollin, 25 Vinebrook Road, Chair of the Conservation Commission. Just to clarify, 2 ponds in town motorboats are not permitted, and that is Kennedy Pond in Parker Village and Burgess Pond on East Boston Camps. Those are both Conservation Commission properties, and we do not allow motorboats.
Thank you. At the center mic.
Madam Moderator, Edith Jo Comply. I'd like to move the question.
We have a motion to move the question that takes precedence. Is there a second? It's not debatable. All in favor of moving the question, please raise your orange cards. Please keep your cards up. All right, put them down, please. All opposed to moving the question? The motion to move the question passes by a 2/3 vote. Thank you. So we're now voting on the main question as amended. The motion to move the question terminates debate, so we'll be going right to the vote. All in favor of approving the motion under Article 9, please raise your orange cards. Put them down, please. All opposed? I think we're going to have a count. Sorry. Can the tellers come up? I know. The tellers like to have something to do. You can sit down, Bruce. It makes them feel that all their training has not been in vain. All right. All in favor of the motion under Article 9 as amended, please stand. Please stand so that tellers can count.
We say stand if you are able and have people show the cards just in case.
Yes, please stand if you're able. If you're not able to stand, please hold your card up. Thank you. That is a good point. Please sit. All those opposed, please stand as you are able, or raise your card in the hand. Raise your card high if you're not. The motion passes by majority, 110 yes, 83 no. So, wasn't this a nice way to spend a little of the afternoon? The business of town meeting being concluded, I ask for a motion to adjourn. All in favor? Oh, is there a second? All in favor? Any opposed? Town meeting is adjourned.